Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Kelly. I'm the Vice President of Global Publishing for Hasbro, and as such, I get to oversee all the exciting things we do in the comics world, none less than Rob Liefeld's amazing efforts on Dead Game. And I guess it was about 2 years ago, Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, Chris Ryall came up to me and said, "You got to meet this guy, Rob. He's dying to do a book about Snake Eyes, and we should try and get that together." And here we are. We had a little pandemic in between just to make things a little more exciting, but here we are. We're on book 5, and I'd love to hear, Rob, from you just what your thoughts are on a little bit about your history with GI Joe and what got you excited about doing this project.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it was in fact 2 years ago that I received an email from Chris. Says, "Dude, it's time for you to do GI Joe. Come on, man. What do you think? You know you love them." And because he knew I had a long-standing passion, I had done some covers a few years prior for the GI Joe comic books, and I just loved illustrating these characters that I grew up with. So when Chris said, "Hey, we can make it happen," and said, "I'm going to talk to Hasbro and connect all the pieces, and we're going to get ready and get going." And I'm just going to tell you something right now. Hasbro has been kicking righteous butt. I'm going to censor myself and say words I don't normally say, but I'm going to say nice words. Kicking butt since I was a kid. Like, you don't understand. Having grown up with Hasbro and then now watching my kids played with Hasbro toys, and their kids are probably going to play with Hasbro toys. So it's cool. Like, you don't understand when you watch a brand name that you loved as a kid, and you grew with it, and then you contribute to it, and then you get to work on these properties, and you got, okay, so I brought this along. Now, this is the replica you guys did. This is my GI Joe. The best part when I talk about that I played with GI Joe as a kid is when people then on social media go, "That's not possible. I did the math. You never played with GI Joe as a kid. The Real American Hero came out. You're this age." Yeah, and I'm like, wait, what, dude? You like, people don't understand the Adventure Team, and then obviously beyond the original war affiliated toys. But I came on board with the Kung Fu Grip, the Eagle Eye, the Adventure Team, and I'm going to blow you away right now because not many people have the Intruder. Okay, the Intruder. Yes. I was ready for today's meeting. Okay, the Intruder. Damn it. Okay, this was an alien that battled, my GI Joe. I was all in on all of these things, but and so when they relaunched in the Reagan era, and I was so like, wait, they're bringing GI Joe back because I've told people this went everywhere with me. He's actually in the box, by the way. This was the primo toy of my youth. Period. End of story. And again, I had a couple of them. And so my love for GI Joe goes back to when I was a kid, and I'm old. I'm not young. I played in the sandbox with my Joes, with my Intruder, which is why, as you know, because my editors from IDW were flipping out because I'm like, and I thought I would be the first to get to these things, but there's obvious fans that did it before me, but I was not the first to put Intruder in a comic book adventure. But that's why he's there. And there were a couple different versions of the Intruder but again, here's Snake Eyes and Scarlet tackling Intruder in issue 2 of Snake Eyes Dead Game. So look, this was so exciting. And as you mentioned, it got bumped a while. It got delayed because of the pandemic that you mentioned, which the comics industry shut down for like a quarter of a year. So then it was like, get things back up and running. And it has just been one of the most fulfilling projects I've ever been involved with. And I don't give that out lightly. The guys at IDW, all of you at Hasbro have made this just an absolute dream come true. And the little kid in me could not be more thrilled.
Well, I have to share that sentiment. When Chris first came to me with the idea, it was just like a dream come true for us as well. Just exciting to be able to work with you and to see your vision. So thanks for sticking with it and for getting through all the different issues that we had with delays and things like that within the industry. But you never gave up, and here we are. We're about to come out with issue 5. So yes. Awesome.
I'm so excited. Look, you don't understand. When you get this in the mail and you can hold it and go, that's my drawing of Snake Eyes coming up from the water. It's so like, it energizes you. You know, I've told this before to people. I don't do jobs for money. I don't need that option. I do jobs for passion and for passion alone. And when I get these, I've already told the guys at IDW, I can't wait to have this all collected. I know issue 5 hasn't come out yet, but when you're done, you go, oh man, we're going to get a trade, maybe a hardcover. We're getting a director's edition. So, you know, this is so, and then you guys dropped the hammer on me last week with an actual Dead Game action figure, which I got to tell you, it takes a lot to make me speechless. I couldn't. I was like, whoa. Immediately check the link. Is this the gag? Is someone trolling me? Is this real? Is there really a Snake Eyes Dead Game? Oh my gosh, I found it. I was like, what? My wife's like, what's going on? Like it's at the breakfast table. I'm like, just hang on. I've got to confirm this. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to confirm that this is real. And I emailed my editors at IDW and like, yeah, we meant to tell you this yesterday, but we're so excited you're excited. So Snake Eyes Dead Game figure, so exciting. It's like full circle.
Yeah.
If you don't think I'm just gonna walk, I don't have a sandbox anymore, but I'm walking into somebody's backyard who has one, and I'm just, excuse me, I'm gonna have my Snake Eyes Dead Game, I'm gonna have my action adventure hero, and I'm gonna bring Intruder along so we can thump on him. And I hope there's no cameras around because I don't need that. I don't need that being recorded. But that is inevitable. Let me tell you, that is inevitable.
Awesome. That's great. So tell us, Rob, what got you into comics in the first place? How did you become a creator? What inspired you to join this particular profession and get involved?
The short answer is I knew early on in life I wasn't qualified for much, but I could doodle like a madman. And I've always told my dad would take me to the barber shop. And when I was 5, 6, 7, and Fred the barber, long past this earth, he was not a young guy then. And he had a stack of comic books. And my dad was a Baptist minister, a little bit on the strict side. And they would only let me interact with Richie Rich comics, Archie, Casper, kid comics. Well, I saw Marvel comics for the first time. I saw an issue of the Fantastic Four, and that I was so enraptured by the pages, by the action. And my buddy Fred the barber said, if you want these, you bring me. He saw that I fancied some of these Marvel comics. He said, look, I'll happily trade with you. I just need comic books for my stack for the kids. And that afternoon, my dad and I drove back some of those kid comics, and I got to have some Marvel comics. And at that point, I just started drawing everything I saw. I mean, I was 6, 7 years old. And then I love to tell people I was very fortunate to move to a neighborhood that had a 4 lights or at the crosswalk, the four stops. There was a 7-Eleven, a liquor store, and a grocery store, and they all sold comic books. The liquor store, I hate to say it, had the very best selection. That spinner rack was stocked, and they'd always look at me like, look at that little 8-year-old kid on his skateboard coming in. I would stay there for a half hour, an hour, as long as they let me flip through comic books. The 7-Eleven was the second good best stash, and the grocery market was okay. The third place at the Four Corners was a Pizza Hut that's still there. And my wife will tell you, I drive back every year. 2 of those are still there. The 7-Eleven is still there. The liquor store is gone, and the market became a gym. But the Pizza Hut and the 7-Eleven, and I'm telling you, man, I was buying comics all the time. And it was during that period that there weren't G.I. Joe comics, but you guys hired Marvel talent to do these single-page ads for The Intruder and Kung Fu Grip and Bullet Man and all these, other characters during the Adventure Hero. And John Romita Sr., one of the staff guys at Marvel, was clearly drawing them all, and they had that Marvel power, and they were only 1 page, but it'd be like they're in the woods. They see the Intruder. Joe jumps out of the helicopter, fights with the Intruder. He runs away, and they're like, he shouldn't mess with the adventure team. In stores now. And I was like, I'm into it. I'm into it. And then it became just hunting down as many G.I. Joes as I possibly could at the, a bunch of department stores that don't exist anymore. If I name them, you'd be like, they're out of business. But before Walmart and Target And so I would go and buy those. I'd buy all those action figures, and then they're in reach. I didn't get them close enough, but you guys did a bunch of Power records, and the kids of my generation, that those Power records, you put the record on, and there's an illustrated comic book, and at the ding, you turn the page, ding, turn the page, ding. So G.I. Joe was such a part of my life. And so, like I said, when the Real American Hero, or we can call it the Larry Hama influenced line, came out, I was like, oh my gosh, they've expanded the line. And Snake Eyes was the guy that jumped out. I mean, for my entire generation, you go, wait, that's a ninja, and he has a gun in one hand and a sword in another. And I think my career is a testament to the fact that I found that to be a very winning formula. Okay, katanas and pistols turned out well for me. Okay, so it all starts in this laboratory called GI Joe, but obviously, I just wanted to draw comics, create characters, and be in that business, and it was my passion, and I've been blessed, fortunate that's been my career for 35 years.
That's great. Thanks for that. That's a really interesting way that you got to where you are now. Question for you. As you mentioned yourself, there's so many stories now about Snake Eyes. He's been in the comics since the early 80s. Yeah. He's been told by Larry Hama, by Chuck Dixon, you name it. What was your approach to Dead Game, and what was the story that you wanted to tell, and how'd you get to that point where you had that approach of Dead Game?
So when I had my first proposal, because I'm like, well, this is the story I have, is okay. So Snake Eyes, with his training, and his backstory, and obviously the challenge that he does not speak in the comics post, what happened to him and turned him into Snake Eyes per the comic book origins. I'm very excited to see the new take, the expanded kind of take that is coming out in a few weeks in the Snake Eyes movie. Could not be more thrilled for that. But I figured, here's this guy. He's always been this honorable warrior. Okay. And I wanted, and he's basically the most lethal weapon in the special missions team. Like Snake Eyes is the guy that generally is bailing everyone else out, and he is the highest qualified kind of warrior. So I'm like, in essence, the way he serves the team, he is their most potent weapon of war. Well, I wanted to introduce this mythological weapon of war that re-emerges, and this kind of somewhere between dark mage and kind of, Dark Lord named Kurgan, who has this history with this sword that can bring about the Dead Game. So now I've got like this mythological bend to it. And in order to battle this, weapon of war, he had to seek out the only weapon that had ever defeated it, which was the hammer of the legendary Thor. Now, I got to tell you, prior to picking up comic books, my sister, who's 7 years older than me, would always be doing her history papers or whatever. So when I was a kid, she had a big giant kind of mythology book, and I saw this big giant illustration of this character named Thor, and I read about the Norse gods of legend, and I had encountered the Nordic gods prior to knowing that he was a Marvel superhero, that Jack and Stan would co-opt him. So I was able to access that, and then I was off to battle this. I wanted Snake Eyes to be way in over his head. And the Dead Game ritual is something that we are trying to outrun the entire time, and he's trying to outsmart this Dark Lord. There are some other characters from his past, but I really leaned into the ninja training and all of that kind of aspects. I went further away from maybe a straight military story, because I felt like there was a bunch of those, and so, but along the way, we got my GI, look right here, because I came prepared. I mean, hello, who's he breaking out in the secret base? In the middle of episode 1 is my man, because I'm like, I'm not doing a comic without putting him in it. Okay, so all along the way, I'm like, yep, check that off. I was like, I had to be true to my childhood, who's like, don't even think about doing this unless you're putting all the sandbox stuff in. And again, there are people who you guys did a Bullet Man figure, and people were like, why did you create this character and jam him into the, and I'm like, I didn't create him. Here's the Google. He's in the GI, so along the way, and I'm going to tell you, I did not know that I'd be introducing GI Joe fans to history of the character. But I have, and it's been a blast. And again, they go, who's this alien guy? And I'm like, well, here he is back in 1975. And it's so funny. I mean, people have been like, Liefeld, I did not know these things. I am hunting them down. I am searching them out. So it was my intent to, again, what I call my lunchbox, my sandbox GI Joe experience. I wanted to put that in with my modern Snake Eyes and this new villain, the Kurgan. And again, along the way, I mean, he wore a red uni. There was an issue all in the snow. He's in a white uniform, which is kind of like if you mash up, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes into one costume. So along the way, everybody at IDW and everybody at Hasbro said, Rob, have fun. We've cleared that, go in that direction, which I think only brought out the best in me leading up to this giant, finale.
That's great. And yeah, I mean, it was really fun to see you pull in the different segments of the brand over the years and obviously showcase your knowledge and your experience with it. What about Snake Eyes himself? What were the elements that you really wanted to make sure that you captured and really paid homage to? But then what other attributes did you want to give him that maybe were new or a different take on the character? So honoring both your vision as well as the character as he's been depicted in the past.
Well, you're never going to outdo Larry's famous silent issue. That is the pinnacle of the entire franchise. It's funny. I mean, over the course of the last year, seeing these issues be published and watching the accumulation in value. Obviously, you've got a new movie coming out. You guys have done an enormous, just an amazing amount of new toys. All the classified stuff, everything that you guys have put forth is driving, greater interest in Snake Eyes and GI Joe than ever before, and so that value of that silent issue has just skyrocketed. That it's kind of out of my league to buy. I'm like, I was looking at high grades of them the other day, going, well, I should have pulled the trigger on this a year ago or a year before, but no one's going to kind of outdo what Larry brought to the character. But like I said, I like when characters are in over their heads. And the thing about Snake Eyes that I've always loved is that that's not a deterrent. He will sacrifice himself for the greater good. And along the way, he is tempted. The bad guy tempts him. We established a relationship that he had with someone who we have understood to be the daughter of Kurgan. And she, again, Hasbro, I'm like, am I allowed to, establish this relationship? Her name's Olympia. And again, I got the clearance, go ahead. You can establish this relationship with Olympia. And so I'm like, wow, I was very nervous throughout to add anything that or to attempt something that would be deemed as too big of a swing. But all along the way, I was given the green light, and which is a great amount of fun. Issue 2 and 3, I put him on a path to interacting with Storm Shadow, which was also important to me. My Chad Bowers scripts over my stories, and Chad is a huge encyclopedia of GI Joe. We had previously worked on a couple of Deadpool projects, and I had no idea when I approached him about this that I was accessing a walking GI Joe wiki. I mean, he is an encyclopedia, so he knows all this stuff. So I was always able to bounce off him, things that could have been problematic prior to that. But he, like from the beginning, he's like, "Hey, this is issue one. Where's Storm Shadow? Where's this guy? Where's that?" I'm like, "Dude, I gotta have stuff in later issues. I can't just have everything in the first issue." So we plotted out that Storm Shadow would jump in and assist him, and you would see them work together for the greater good, understanding that what's going on with the dead game is bigger than the both of them. And of course, just like in the sword, the dead sword is Raiders of the Lost Ark, is the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Snake Eyes keeps obtaining it and losing it, obtaining it and losing it, obtaining it and losing it. And ultimately you'll find out in the 5th issue, if like Indiana Jones, he realizes it's not his to possess. And that is the, I don't mean to name drop, but I was developing a movie with Steven Spielberg in the 90s and was able to hold court with him several times. And there was the story that we were doing. He said, "Hey, Rob, you cracked the code in this particular project we were doing." He goes, "Your character obtains it, loses it, obtains it, loses it, obtains it, loses it, realizes it's not his to have." That is the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark. The power is too big. So that's what I wanted to put him. And along the way, again, he comes across a former lover in Olympia and fellow ninja warrior, and it's her dad who's causing all this, who's been resurrected from the dead. There's a lot of, again, supernatural stuff. And then, especially growing up, like I said, with the Nordic stuff, going, well, has anybody drawn Snake Eyes holding the hammer of Thor? I think I got that one all to myself. So that was an exciting cover to portray when he finally gets it, and you'll see what happens. Now he got it in issue 4 and immediately lost it, and then Destro and Baroness show up on the last page of issue 4, and so again we just keep building the obstacles. And there's the issue 4 is a very weird vision quest. He's battling bears. He's like, there's ninjas that rise from the dead in the snow. And again, that's the issue. I thought, like, this is the one that probably has the best chance of Hasbro saying, "We don't understand what the hell is going on here. What, like, redo it." But you guys were cool. He went on his vision quest, which ended up with him, diving to the bottom of a frozen lake to obtain the sword, the Thor's hammer, and we're in business. I did all this in a GI Joe story. Okay. So this is very exciting to me. And I fit in Scarlet, and I fit in my original. And like I said, I got the Intruder. And if I can just keep putting them in frame, my childhood would be, extremely pleased.
Tell me, obviously you put obviously your heart and soul into this, and it's so clear from the pages that you've submitted in the story. And actually, believe it or not, I review every single page that comes in, so I'm completely familiar with the story you've written. And for better or for worse, I'm the guy who for the most part was pushing through those approvals and making sure that you were doing what you wanted to do. And I think it was great working with you. It was great seeing your vision. And I think what's great about Joe, and I think I can tell that you agree, is it's that nice juxtaposition of reality with fantasy, with science fiction. Like, you can really go a lot of different directions and have fun with it, and It still makes sense for the brand. So I'm really happy that you were able to capture that, and we're all thrilled with the final result. Tell me a little bit more about the 5th issue, because you worked with some amazing names alongside yourself to bring this issue to life. We got Neil Adams, we've got Tom Scioli, we've got, you name it, Larry Hama even. So tell me a little bit what that was like, what gave you the idea of reaching out to them, and what it was like to work with them.
I love talking about the 5th issue. The 5th issue was the whipped cream, the cherry on top. It was my intent to not, the last chapter of a story, especially knowing the comic book marketplace, being a veteran of the comic book marketplace since I was 7 years old as a fan. Again, my encounters with spinner racks, my introduction to comic book stores, and then becoming a veteran in the business the last 35 years, knowing the marketplace. The conclusion of storylines, you can tell people as much as you want how important they are, and yet they are not as easy to sell as the launch issue, the first issue. So I wanted to do something that demanded everyone's attention, and so I called up my friends, of whom I have made a lot over the years, and chief among them, I'm going to be honest, Neil Adams, had he said no, it may have taken the wind right out of me. He was the first guy I asked, because if you get Neil Adams, who is, to me, because since Jack Kirby is gone and Stan Lee is gone, Steve Ditko is gone, the greatest living legend among us in the comic book world is Neil Adams. He is, in my humble opinion, the greatest illustrator to ever draw comic books. His techniques are still being used today. His illustrations, the guy drew the most beautiful, strong, powerful characters, figures all across the board. And so I called up Neil and I said, Neil, I had gotten to know Neil really well over the last decade being on the road, because anytime I had any free time, I would park myself at his table and say, tell me, comic book stories of the 60s, the 70s. And, tell me, I love listening to him. And he would tell me, Rob, I am everybody's best inker. I am John Buscema's best inker. I am Gene Colan's best inker. And he went on to list all these different people, because I was really obsessed with all of the different talents that he's inked over the years. And people aren't aware that he did ink a lot of these greats at his studio. He'd be like, and because of all these different pages coming through, he'd always get to cherry pick. And he told me, I did all the best pages. So I'm like, I'm going to ask him to ink the best. Like, not only, I'm not just going to ask for one page, I'm going to ask for a double pager. So this is a tall order. I said, Neil, would you do it? And I mean, love to. Send it to me as fast as you can. It's the first page I drew from the book, the spread. I sent it off to Neil. He had it back to me in a matter of days. I then started making the calls. I called Jerry Ordway. I called Kevin Eastman. I called Carl Kiesel. I called Philip Tan. I called Wills Portacio. The list goes on. Ed Pisker, Jim Rugg. The idea originally was to get as many Bronze Age guys, because that's when the G.I. Joe Real American Hero, the comic book, launched. But unfortunately, there are not as many of them as there were pages in the book. So then I went to the young guys who I knew grew up with this franchise. And I was fortunate. I mean, I batted 100 throughout. Everybody was happy to join. And when I got everybody's page, and I knew that we could make something really special out of this. And it has. People are really psyched. I mean, Corey Hampshire, like I said, a guy named Chance Wolf. I mean, really great talents all throughout. Dan Panosian, guys from My Extreme Studios, Dan Frega, Marat Michaels. I'm going to leave out somebody, but just amazing. The pages would come back. And so when you see that credit page and all those people who contributed, and I told everybody, just have fun with what I did. I'm not hiring you to trace my lines. Do Jerry Ordway, do Carl Kiesel, just use me as the template. So it came out fantastic. I am so excited. And then of course in my back pocket, because eventually you're going to get to this, the Larry Hama of it all. As Snake Eyes Dead Game #1 is being done, I go, man, I need to involve Larry somehow. I am in a Bronze Age comic book group on Facebook, and a buddy of mine put up the sketch he had just gotten from Larry at the end of the 2019 convention season. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most amazing drawing. Larry, like head to toe, full figure, loaded in pouches and gear. And I called up my friend Ted, and I said, Ted, if I get Larry's permission, can I ink that and use that? And he said, yeah. So then I contacted Larry, and within 10 minutes, Larry said, great, Rob, I'm thrilled. Go ahead. And so then I went back to Ted and I said, so now I have permission. May I have your permission to use it? And he's like, Rob, I'm so excited. And then we have used it as this cover, and that got people even more excited. So again, thank you, IDW. Thank you, Hasbro, indulging this as the way to go out in this finale. It's an all-star affair. Comic book legends, Kevin freaking Eastman, Kevin the Turtles Eastman goes, yeah, Rob, I'd love to. I mean, he and Neil are two guys who've never inked me ever before, who are guys who I have tremendous love, adoration, respect for, and their pages are amazing. I mean, they're just fantastic. So I hope everybody. We wrapped the story. Ryan Invincible Otley did a double pager. Again, like everybody came to play, and everybody gave me their very best. And again, Snake Eyes is at the fore of every single page, battling our bad guy. And I think it drops 2 weeks before the movie. So the window is maximized. So I think Snake Eyes fans are going to be ready for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just seeing that list when it first came through, I almost didn't believe it myself. So, well done pulling all those guys together. And it's going to be a real treat for the audience and the fans, to be sure. It's so great.
It pays to have friends. It pays to have great friends in comics.
Yes. So I always tell people it's a small world.
It is.
So you don't burn any bridges.
Legends. Even my editor said, Rob, I am looking at this Neil Adams spread and I cannot believe it exists. I'm like, it exists. Like, again, and he's like, I didn't tell him. I didn't tell my editor about Kevin Eastman, because with Kevin, we had to thread the needle with his own deadlines, and it couldn't get in front of any of that. So it had to be when he had an absolute opening, and we threaded that needle. He got it to me, and then I gave it to IDW, and they're like, Rob, you didn't tell us this. I'm like, isn't it awesome? And he's like, again, I can't believe this exists. So yeah, that July 7th is going to be a real treat for everybody.
You mentioned just now the movie. We actually this week just dropped the second trailer. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about the Snake Eyes movie? Are you excited about it? Is there something particular you're hoping to see?
Look, everything about it has me thrilled. I saw the new trailer. I dug the teaser. I think it has all of today's best kind of cinematic sensibilities. The action looks on par with the best stuff you see in John Wick. The character, the acting, the staging, the setting. Henry Golding has just so much presence. He's brilliant. I don't mind saying this. It's a matter of public record. It's on my Instagram. He introduced himself to me on Instagram as telling me that he grew up reading my X-Force and how much he loved all the characters that I did at Marvel. And you don't understand, that was a drop your phone moment. I'm like, okay, Snake Eyes just told me that he dug X-Force. I am in this second level of existence. Like, this is blowing my mind. And I'm like, I love drawing you, Henry. Like, you go through this geek, awareness. So knowing that Henry is a legit comic book guy portraying the biggest character in the GI Joe, pantheon, and I just can't wait to see it. It's got all the katana action, all the martial arts, and then in the new trailer, obviously we saw Baroness, we saw Scarlet. So I think this is the perfect launch for a new era of a GI Joe cinematic universe. I think it's going to do phenomenal. Last week, you guys started releasing kind of these little teasers that showed comic book images as it kind of built towards the live actor. And the Snake Eyes one of my covers is in there. So of course I felt like I'm invested now more than ever. Holy crap, this is exciting. And it's great. You're reminding, a group of fans, that these have comic book origins, that they're comic books, they're toys. I just think it's great. It's great marketing. I've loved everything I've seen. I think the movie is going to be a smash. I can't wait to see it. And it's just exciting. I think it's, again, coming out at a really great time.
Great. Thanks for that. One last question for you, and I don't know if you've received it yet, but we do have our friends at 3-0 sending you over one of the action figures based on your Dead Game Snake Eyes. So that should be arriving soon if you haven't already gotten it. But you touched on it a little bit before, but that's there it is. There's the basis of it.
Oh my gosh.
So tell us a little bit more just about your experience when you first heard about that, and what you think, what that means to you.
So again, being part of the comic book industry, and look, I have retailers that I've gone to here in Southern California my whole life. I listen to what these guys say. I listen to what their their feedback. And the comic book industry is very competitive, and so I wanted to continue to give everybody a reason to stay engaged and maybe kind of blow your mind and give you something that you're not expecting. And that's why, I did the white outfit for the snow gear and the red outfit. And so, when you do these things, I'm not going to lie. Okay. I am very fortunate that I have created a cast of characters that have yielded over 30 years of action figures. Toys. I mean, they're all within my reach next to my Snake Eyes over here. And Hasbro happens to produce 90% of those too. And so I'm sitting there going, wouldn't this be cool if this was an action figure? And literally when I saw the red Dead Game figure, and look, I put him on 3 covers, and there was a reason. I was trying to make it happen. Okay. I'm like, come on, he's on 3 covers. Can we maybe I can help will this into being? So You guys really blew my mind. I can't wait to get that action figure. You can bet your bottom dollar that the minute I get it, I'll be going live on all of social media. Maybe it's time to go to that sandbox. Maybe it's time for this old man to go do ridiculous things. But I guarantee you, when I get it, I will flip out, because it's. So I started off to do a comic book. So now I'm going to hold a toy based on a comic book of them that I did. It's mind blowing. I mean, I have never lost the appreciation. Never lost the appreciation. I love toys. You know, my son pops his head in as he headed off last year to his junior year in college. He was about to make the drive to Texas, and he popped his head in my studio and he said, you know, I'd already said my goodbye. I thought he was on his way out the door. I was at my desk. He pops back in and he goes, Dad, what's it like to eat candy bars, play with toys, and draw pictures all day? You never grew up. And I'm like, that's right. I never grew up. Okay. And I'm fine with that. This is completely okay with me, because I love the stuff. I love the stuff. The stuff never gets old. So the fact that this, and you guys even posed him, 2 of the 3 covers, you guys knew what you were doing. Your people, you posed them after these covers. There is one where he is literally in that pose. I did a 3/4 view. There's a 3/4 view, and they say dead game, and I'm freaking out. That marking in white, seeing that on the figure, you're like, they went all in. And then, come on, Hasbro, come on, fans, we want a 2-pack. We want more of these. Let's not stop with 1. That's what I'm telling you. There's so many fun figures to come, right? Okay, see, I'm trying to make it happen again. I think it's called manifestation. So look, the dead game figure was the cherry on top. You guys could not have planned it better. It is reinvigorated. I've heard, I mean, people are psyched. Again, these comic books have become to watch comic books become as influential across the board, you know, as they have, whether it's Marvel or Hasbro. You guys definitely take the comic book seriously. You take the fans' interest seriously, and the fans always respond in kind. So it's just fun to watch.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Rob, and for all of your passion and effort that you brought to this program. It's been a really wild ride. It's been a lot of fun, both reading the comics and now interviewing you and getting this insight. It's been really rewarding. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Dude, you are so welcome. And here's the deal. Now that it's all together, it's collected, it's forever. Once all 5 issues are in, and it's going to be on shelves forever. Thank you for clearing it. Thank you for giving me every single green light. I had a blast.
It's great. Thanks.
Thank you.